Hey folks, welcome back. This is Mark Devine with the Unbeatable Mind podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to have a blast because my guest is Scott Eastwood. Before I introduce him a little bit more, or we just get into it, let me remind you that it really helps if you can rate the podcast and provide a review. That's how other people find it. And man, there's podcasts popping up all over the place these days, and some money behind some of the bigger ones. And so they got big marketing clout, big power behind them. And you can bet that they're going to be pulling all the tricks to get them up front and center. So the way that Scott and I need to get our podcast notice is for you, the listeners, to go rate them, right? Hopefully with 5 stars. Appreciate that.
Definitely 5 stars.
Definitely 5 stars. So that's that. And then the other thing I want to say is we've got our Unbeatable Mind experience coming up. That's something we run twice a year. This is the second time we've done it. This is where my team and I go really deep on all the principles of Unbeatable Mind, all the training over 3 days in Carlsbad, California. First one's coming up in, I think, the first weekend of March. Check out unbeatablemind.com for information on that. It is an extraordinary event. And if you really want to go deep and learn from me and my team, then we'd love to see you there. All right, Scott Eastwood, actor, philanthropist, podcaster.
The podcasting
pilot.
It's a hobby. It's a thing. It's to highlight people who are doing cool things with their lives, like you.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, so you've done the podcast for just a couple of years then?
No. When did we start, Tim? Last year? Like a year? A year? Yeah,
I was surprised you had a podcast because it takes a lot of time.
It takes some time.
Yeah, but clearly you've got a nice setup, and you got Tim's a great partner for you. I've got Jeff, so that really helps, and Allison.
They can fight it out at the end.
Yeah,
see who wins.
Well, like most people would recognize your name because they recognize the Eastwood brand, so to speak. And I've seen you in some of the movies, and so I know you're just probably running around like a chicken with your head cut off doing projects these days.
I do.
Surprised to see that you have time to sit down for a podcast.
Yeah, it goes in. I work really hard in concentrated times, and then I have time off.
Right.
And then I can do things. But yeah, my schedule's pretty busy. I mean, it takes a lot to. People don't realize it takes a lot to film a movie. So like, doing one movie could be like 3 months of all day, every day, 6 days a week, sometimes 7.
Right.
What
is that like? Everyone wants to know. I'm sure there are some actors listening to this, but what does your day look like when you're filming? Like, what was the most recent movie you're filming?
I just filmed a film called The Outpost. It's actually based on a true story in Afghanistan, 2009. Nice. And yeah, I mean, that was 2.5 months in Bulgaria, 6 days a week. Wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, leave at 6 to get to set by 6:30 or 6:45. It was like a 45-minute drive.
Someone there to pick you up, or you have your handlers take it, or do you have to walk,
ride
your bike?
No, don't ride my bike. Not 45 minutes in a car. It would have been a long ride. Someone picks me up every day. So, we'll hit the gym first thing. Mm-hmm. We got to take care of ourselves first.
Yep.
So then we do that. Head to set.
Do you have a trainer?
I have a guy. No, I do. I have a guy that travels with me.
Okay.
It's really nice too. It's good to have buddies.
Yeah. He works out with you.
Yeah, we work out together.
Yeah. That's the way we like to train.
I like that better.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So then we'll go to set, and I mean we're right in it. I mean it's from the second I land on sets, whenever it's 6:30 a.m. It's
action.
Well, it's straight into hair and makeup, straight into wardrobe, straight into rehearsals, right into blocking rehearsals of whatever scene we got up, and then continued back into makeup. Then they set up the cameras, the lighting, and it's all happening in parallel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every minute is accounted for.
Really?
Because I mean, you're talking about certain days are $1 million days, $100,000, $500,000 days. It just depends, and so every second it can be accounted for, and say we just burnt $10,000
No
talking
shit.
about this shit.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to show up prepared. Like if you've got lines that day, you know them cold, and you're practicing them.
You're
visualizing
practicing
them.
Weeks before if it's big dialogue, and nightly. So
Right.
we work all day long. Sometimes 15-hour days, and you leave exhausted, and you go home, and I try not to eat late, but. And then you go right into studying before you fall asleep. That's you're working for the next day,
right.
and you're working for subsequent days. And anytime you have to catch up, you're working down the line.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not as glamorous as people think.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work, but
Yeah.
and when it's over, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
Sounds like in the Navy SEALs, a lot of our work was concentrated like that in 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 6-month chunks.
Yeah.
And then you got to take a break, but it's intense while you're doing those chunks.
Yeah. I've done 6-month movies.
Have you?
Oh yeah. I did a 6-month movie the year before last. One the year before that too.
So you get one day off a week, and you just crash and kind of recover, or?
Yeah, look, everything's different. There are times you might have a few days off depending on,
Right.
but if you're the lead of the film, you're in every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How many films have you been the lead in?
Oh, I don't know. 10?
Really? No kidding.
Maybe more? 10? I don't even know now.
Right.
I've done like 40-something films.
Have you?
Yeah.
Now let's back up. It seems kind of natural that you would get into acting because your dad and whatnot, but not everyone follows in their dad's footsteps. Were you drawn to acting in spite of that kind of family influence? Do you think was it your calling?
I think I was drawn more towards storytelling and filmmaking, and I loved that you could create something that would affect people.
Yeah, that's
you
cool.
could create something and that would make people feel something. I genuinely like to do movies that are positive. Not really into doing
like murder and mayhem.
Yeah, look, there can be that. There can be that stuff. True stories, whatever. But I like something that makes people feel, and it makes people feel good or positive, or gives some sort of lesson out of it. You're really creating art. That's what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us about kind of your childhood. Like, what was that like? I know you had some siblings, like some sisters, right?
I have a lot of sisters.
You have a few sisters, and where'd you grow up, and what was that like, and what were some of your formative experiences?
I grew up in California and Hawaii. My mom moved to Hawaii when I was 8 years old. Her and my dad split up.
Was your mom an actress? I don't know much about her story.
No. My mom was a flight attendant for 25 years. She did a few other things, some interior decorating and stuff. But so they split up, and then I spent, I'd say, half of my childhood in Hawaii and half of my childhood in California.
Okay.
I was raised with my full sister, with my mom, but I have a bunch of other sisters, half sisters, but they're like my sisters. We all grew up either a few of them grew up in my father's household and with me, and my older sister, who was she's about I think 11 years older than me. She was sort of my big sister. She babysat me, and she was by far probably my, her and, was probably my mentor, at least in grade school or going into my middle school years. So yeah, raised between them. My dad is Clint Eastwood.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know. I almost forgot. He's
pretty badass.
Yeah, he's pretty old school.
Were you close to him at all?
Yeah, we're much closer now. I was a little bit of a punk for a while. I used to have a shirt that said "Troublemaker."
Oh no shit! There you go. Telegraphing.
He didn't like that very much. No, yeah, he was pretty old school dad. The way he raised, especially with me, with his sons, his two sons. I have a brother. He's definitely hard. My dad grew up in the Great Depression, so I think he really had a different upbringing than most people that I know.
I'm sure.
And he very much valued hard work and dedication to something. And when you say you're going to do something, you're there and you do it, and you do it 150%.
Right.
And he definitely didn't believe in handouts.
Mm-hmm.
So he was pretty old school. And I was kind of a punk. And then luckily I got into some trouble early on, still in high school. And then I sort of got straightened out.
I love that. Luckily, I got in some trouble.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really was.
In hindsight, it is luck.
It was super lucky that I did it when I did it.
Right.
I was really lucky, and I was able to realize that there are consequences for your actions.
Right.
And then I was focused. Then I was really focused, and I knew. I mean, there's really no when there is no handouts, and you have to do something to survive, and you have to figure it out. Bartending, bussing tables.
Most people
valet.
Assume that kids of famous actors are going to have the carpet rolled out for them, the silver spoon in their hand, and it's not the case with you, huh?
No, we didn't even grow up in L.A. My dad's not. He makes movies, but he's very far from
right. He's not a Hollywood
this world. No,
Klingon,
not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to college, and I was a busboy at a restaurant. I had a bicycle. I went to college in Santa Barbara.
UCSB? Or?
Nope, City College.
Okay.
I went to college in Santa Barbara for about a year, and I realized I had this. I sort of always knew like film was really interesting, but I had, I guess what people would call an epiphany, or I just had a moment of clarity after I wasn't even done with my first year, and I looked around and I remember it, and I saw some of my older friends who I'd been in high school with, and they were much older, 4 or 5 years older, and they were out of college, and they were bussing tables or waiting tables.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I said, oh shit, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I got to go and make this happen if I'm going to do it. And I got to go do it while I'm in college and do it in parallel.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I jammed. I was like, I'm done. I'm not going back to party school. I was having fun. I was young. I was, 18 years old, bussing tables, going to parties, doing the thing. And I was like, no, I'm out. And I left to LA, which, I didn't really want to live in LA because I was like, there was no real interest. I didn't really want to be there, but I was like, I got to be here. And I enrolled in Santa Monica City College. And I've started valet parking cars at the Chart House in Marina Del Rey, and at Duke's in Malibu, and really just scraping whatever I could together to go to college and start going on auditions and start trying to see if I could do it.
Taken any acting classes or studied, theater?
Prior, I'd been in theater. I'd been in theater in high school. I did some theater, but not a lot. I was much more into girls, football, surfing. So I'd taken a break from it. But then I started an acting class. I started taking an acting class in Santa Monica, and so I was going to acting class at night, maybe like once or twice a week. I was bussing, waiting, valet parking cars, and going to college. And I was I was flying. I was like not taking no for an answer. I was head down charging. I had a 91 Crown Vic was my first car that I ever had.
Awesome.
before that, I actually I took the bus to several auditions I can remember across town. Tim, did you know me then? when I had the Crown Vic?
I met you when you were 19, I think.
Did I have the Crown Vic or did I have the old Tacoma?
You had the Tacoma.
I had the Tacoma. That was my second car.
So what was the break? Like where did you was it incremental or did you have like one kind of like breakthrough moment?
I got jobs, but they were sometimes they were big movies, but they were really small parts.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody in the acting business will tell you, and they don't really pay anything.
Right.
You're more or less doing it for experience.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you know nothing. You don't really even know how film works. You're learning at those in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
You think you know how to act, and you're like, okay, great, I can sort of do it. And but then you get these small roles, and they may take you all over the world. So I would get a movie, small movie, big movie, whatever, but they'd be tiny little parts, and I would have to figure out how can I keep my day job.
Right.
How can I keep my jobs?
I got to go to Bulgaria to shoot something.
Yeah, for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and be there. A lot of times too, when you're a young actor, they kind of pick you up for like the run of show, even if you have a small part.
Mm-hmm.
So you go out there, you're making like SAG minimum, and you're out there, and then when you get back, it's like, oh shit, like, well, I got to go back and get another job because they didn't let me leave.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a juggling thing, and at the same time I was going to college, and it was really important to my mom that I get a college degree. I don't think it was as important to me
right
at the time. I'm glad I did.
Sure.
But
that must have been a slog. How long did it take you to get your degree? Did you do it in
I think it
4
took
years,
like 5 years.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it wasn't
Good
too
job.
bad. I mean, I had to piece it together. And then, still after college, I mean, I wasn't, I wasn't a working actor really. I would work, but,
Were you coddling enough to make a living or?
Yeah, making like 30, 40 grand a year, sort of cobbling it together.
Right.
But, I had a strong work ethic because of my dad, and I was like head down, and I was smart with my money.
Mm-hmm.
I never, I wasn't, like some of these kids are going out and doing bottle service, and you're like, what are you doing? What are you spending all that money for? You're spending every dollar you have,
Right.
So I did that. Then I started bartending. I was like actually making more money bartending than I was acting.
Mm-hmm.
I lived down in San Diego doing that, and then I had sort of decided after college that I didn't really love living in LA, and if I had to stay here and do the acting business, like that wasn't gonna fly. Like I couldn't do it. It was too heartbreaking to be here. And
LA's brutal.
It's pretty brutal.
I try to stay away from this town.
Yeah.
But just down the road, San Diego, North County is unbelievable.
It's not.
Yeah.
Don't tell people.
Quiet. Don't tell them about this little town
Yeah.
you used to live in.
I used
do
to.
live in.
I moved to Texas. I got away from the crowd here too. But, and so I was still kind of piecing it together, and I said, okay, I'm gonna give myself to 30. I was 23 or 24. I don't know where I was at the time. I was like, I'll give myself to 30. And that was sort of my goal. I was like, if it doesn't really happen for me, then cool. I gave it like a really good run, and I put my head down and I grinded.
Did you have a backup plan? Like, what would you have done if it didn't work, if acting wasn't the path?
Yeah, I mean, well, I had ideas of things I would have done.
Podcasting.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was back then.
Didn't even exist back then. I had a college degree. I had a degree in communications. I thought I always was interested in possibly being a firefighter.
Nice.
I was like, that's a cool job.
Interest too, and I didn't pursue it. I wish I had after I left the SEALs active duty.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who are firefighters.
A lot of friends.
Love it.
Yeah. And I always seemed like something that was active, that took place in different locations every day, and you go somewhere and you do something, and then like you provide a cool
challenging
service.
and great service to it. You're saving lives. Huh? I can see you doing that.
So I
it's
was
not
sort
too
of like,
late.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I still think about
one of my
sometimes.
buddies became a firefighter at 45.
Oh, really?
Yeah, former SEAL.
That's awesome.
Mike. He's awesome.
And he likes it.
Loves it.
Loves it.
He's crushing it. You know, of course, he's got the physical structure. He's a former team guy. You know, he was crushing the younger guys. Absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
And one of our SEAL Fit coaches right now, John Wernham, is on the path. He's in the paramedic academy right now, and he'll get hired. You know, he was already the honor man of his first firefighter academy. But it's a cool path.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it seemed really cool, and I also really liked the idea that you could work for a few days and then have like 4 or 5 days off.
Yeah.
Work a few days, like concentrate it, and you could pack it in if you want to and sort of move your schedule around. Work a bunch for a month, maybe take a month off.
So you can have a dual, you know, you can have a business on the side and be, you know.
Yeah, you can do other things.
Yeah, my friend Phil Black was a SEAL firefighter, but he built a company called Fit Deck, you know.
Oh, okay.
Fitness, you know, training cards. Or, you know,
oh,
flip
you
it over.
flip the, you do like
and
20 push-ups.
Do the workout and have a
it is.
little wad on the card, or you know, a series of cards and stuff.
That's
like that.
cool.
He sold the business and did really well, and he's still a firefighter.
There you go.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So, anyways, you didn't have to become a firefighter, although I still, you know, don't think it's too late
It's
for you.
not too late.
You know,
it's not too late. I'm 33. Not too late.
Right. Because acting worked out for you.
Yeah, it started taking off. It started taking off more and more, and then I, you know, had some, you know, better roles, some bigger movies, bigger roles, smaller movies. It was kind of, you know, sort of the latter.
Yeah.
And then eventually I at some point just sort of had to give up bartending because that was.
Did you have like a breakout movie for you, or one particular role that you think was like a turning point?
I don't know if it was like one. Mm-hmm. It was probably an accumulation of a few. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, sometimes I feel like I still haven't done.
You're just getting warmed up.
Yeah, right? Like I'm like, what? I'm like, Breakout. I'm like, I'm still charging.
Right.
Like I got a lot of stuff that I want to do and a lot of stories that I want to tell. Mm-hmm. So this is a lifetime pursuit for you. Or do you think that you have a timeline and then you're going to retire and move on to something else? I don't know. You know, I like to give myself like 10-year goals. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I'm like, let's see where I'm at 40. Mm-hmm. Let's see if I still really enjoy it and I love it. Mm-hmm. Then I'll still do it. If I don't, then I'm out. Right. You know. Right. The business side of it can suck. There's a lot of thieves, a lot of liars, a lot of bullshit in the business. Well, your dad's in that side now, right? He became a successful producer. Is that the right term? Director and producer. Director and producer. Yeah, but because he started doing his own projects. Where he owned the IP and he was funding it himself. Yeah. Yeah, he just started doing it himself. He said, "No, I'm gonna direct it. I'm gonna do it." And he proved that he could do it and make people money and. Mm-hmm. And you know, the rest is history. Does that interest you to go down that path? I think so. I mean, if I'm gonna stay doing it, it's probably got to morph, and it is morphing. I'm you know doing we have a lot of projects that I'm a producer on and that we're putting together. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily want to direct them yet. Mm-hmm. I like working with. A really creative director, and I think they push me to be better. Mm-hmm. So I still want to do that before I take that next leap. Right. When it comes to acting, like just that art of acting, what are the biggest challenges for you? Like what is hard about it for you? I think the business is hard about it. I mean, the acting's the fun part. Is it? That's the creative stuff. That's the awesome, you know, you're on set, you get to make these great choices. You get to, you know, I mean, certain days are hard, certain long hours are hard, certain scenes are hard, you know, and if you're out in the middle of the rain and in the cold and this, you know, and you're putting your body through a ton of shit that, you know, a normal person wouldn't be doing, you know, you're under rain towers and it's 30 degrees outside. A rain tower. I mean, they have those. They make rain for you? They make rain, yeah. Oh, no shit. And you're, you know, you're freezing and you're under, you know, a heat lamp in between takes, and then you're running back and you're doing that for 10 hours, 12 hours, sometimes all night. Those are hard days. Right. And there's some people who suck to work with, like a better
you find
term.
that
You know?
anywhere, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of like anything, right? Like nothing's gonna be ever perfect. So,
Right.
I think the business is probably the hardest thing that I don't like. Just because
as an actor, business for you is really contract negotiation, or what do you get involved in as an actor?
No. I mean that's.
Or do you mean more in your new role where you're moving into the more of a producing and stuff like that?
No, the business for me is the meeting filmmakers, producers, financiers,
I see. Right.
putting projects together, being a part of projects. There's a lot of bullshit, a lot of politics about who's going to be in it, who isn't. There's a lot of. It's just it's kind of a shitty. Sometimes it can just be like a shitty dealing, with people. There's just shitty people out there, and it's just a lot of crap, and a lot of it's sort of like intangible things, right? It's like, well, who is that person's movie? Did they do good like last year? Where it's not really like, oh, hey, this person's great to work with. They show up on time. They work really hard. It doesn't matter. Like that stuff sometimes doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, you think it would, and it does in the sense that that's your reputation, right? That's like all you have to hang your hat on. But there's a lot of intangibles. What you mean in the rest of the world, foreignly. If you have a financeable name, or if people want to put you in a movie because of those things, or they don't.
Right.
So there's a lot of weird stuff.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
How much leeway do you have to be kind of spontaneous on set?
Oh, that just depends. It really depends on the project and the person and the director, and what kind of relationship you have going into the movie. If you've talked about those things, if they're on board with with a lot of improv or working on the script, working on the dialogue, changing the dialogue. I mean, some guys, and rightfully so. Like, I mean, if you're in a Quentin Tarantino movie, you're gonna say his damn words and do it probably his way because he's Quentin Tarantino, and that's his thing, and you're gonna show him respect because that's his deal. But somebody maybe who isn't as good as Quentin Tarantino,
right.
It just depends.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you do any of your own stunts?
I usually do them all.
You do them all, huh?
Yeah. I like that part. That's like I said, that's the easy stuff. That's being on set. That's fun.
So here's, this is a business question because I'm totally clueless about that industry. If you go in and you say, you know what, I do my own stunts, does that get you more money because they don't have to hire a stunt actor to follow you around?
No, but I should start collecting like a stunt fee.
I should be your agent and be like, dude,
right. Be like,
you should get the stuntman fee and the acting fee.
Yeah. I'll get you in the negotiating room next time.
That's funny. So let's talk about, like, you already gave us like your on-set morning ritual. What is it that is your mental, like what's going on through your mind? When you wake up in the morning, how do you forge your unbeatable mind, right? What's your internal dialogue? What kind of practices do you have to stay mentally clear and sane throughout all the craziness of that industry and all the travel and all the stress, all the craziness of the world that you're living in?
That's a good question. It's really multifaceted. I mean, it's first and foremost it comes down to my health, right? I mean, that's like the first thing, so staying super fit and healthy, and that to me is a lot of things, right? That's yoga, that's working out, that's whether that be swimming, lifting weights, cross training, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu,
nice,
all those things that I love to do, and I love to shake it all up, and I love those to all be a part of what I do. That's really important to me, that I make time. but more importantly, that I have a really good routine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's waking up early. It's writing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I do.
Journaling, or are you working on something?
Journaling. I find I like to, if I have time, I love to write and read first thing in the morning because my mind is really clear and I can focus.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't have time, then it's just probably journaling and making sure I'm taking care of me first.
Do you have a specific journaling routine, questions you ask yourself, or things that you're
No.
A lot of people have gratitude and then insights and ideas for the day, or do you have a process around journaling? It's such an important, I agree with you 100%, it's such an important skill, and really.
I don't say I have a structured process. I like writing first thing
Mm-hmm.
because I feel really lucid and just clear about whatever I'm dealing with or thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I like to put it down on paper so I can understand and sort of identify it and go, okay.
Writing forces you to clarify the thought.
Yeah,
right?
this is bullshit. And you can look at it later and go, okay, why did I even care about that?
Right, right.
And then you can learn from those. You can learn those lessons. Man, I was obsessing about that, and and then you learn for next time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe I don't need to obsess about those things. I can let those things go and focus in more. Then it comes to diet. Diet and, making sure I am drinking lots of water
Mm-hmm.
and taking care of myself
Mm-hmm.
and eating the best nutrients I could possibly have.
What does that look like for you? Are you working on ketogenesis or intermittent
I've done,
fasting, and do you eat just whole foods? And
the answer is
what's the simple diet plan that you follow?
The answer is I've done keto. I've
Mm-hmm.
done intermittent fasting.
Mm-hmm.
I like both. Not entirely sustainable, I don't think, to do keto all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Find myself a little low energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's great if you want to shred
Mm-hmm.
and use, and I do like some of the focus.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're working out really, really hard, I think you need some sort of carbohydrates.
Of course, yeah, I agree with that.
I like intermittent fasting. I'm not deathly strict on it.
Mm-hmm. Intermittent fasting.
Yeah. What'd I say?
No,
Oh.
I'm just saying your intermittent fasting is intermittent.
Yeah, it's intermittent. Yeah, it is. No, and it's because, sometimes I'll just drop in and out of it. Depending on what my goals are for that period. If I'm doing whatever I'm doing. Meditation.
Yeah, nice.
Um,
You do that
mental
after
focus.
you read and write
No, I'll do that at night.
at night. Okay.
At night, if I do it, I don't do it every day,
Mm-hmm.
but I should.
Mm-hmm.
I would say probably 2 days a week.
Right.
I will make time to do that.
Then do you use an app like Insight Timer, or do you just sit down and follow
No,
your
I do TM.
TM? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, focus at night. Like I really enjoy meditation and yoga in the evening,
Right.
because I find I sleep much better.
Right.
I'm really lucky. I actually probably have not a lot of problems sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
and I get a lot of sleep. And I'm really, really I value my sleep,
Yeah.
and I don't
Well,
like
the
people
jury's
messing with my
out
sleep.
finally, in the research about the power of sleep and how most of our world is sleep deprived.
Oh yeah.
Just not getting enough because they really, they have this macho thinking that I only need 5 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah.
Now the research is out saying, no, you actually need like
No.
7 to 8, and
Yeah.
the more the better.
More the better. And
Yeah.
I try not to use my phone at 2 hours before,
Oh, that's
an
good.
hour, but at least an hour before I go to bed.
Do you,
So I'll
do you
read.
shut it down and put it in a different room kind of thing, or do you?
I
just
don't
not?
like to sleep with it by my bed, so I'll plug it in and I'll leave it in like a far corner of the room or in the bathroom or somewhere else, and I'll it's always on silent. My phone's always on silent. So I'll do that, and I'll usually read or do some sort of meditation, breathing or something before I go to bed.
Right. Or read your script.
Yeah, and I read not typically on a computer. I love hard copy.
So do I.
Yeah. I'll read in the morning on a computer.
Right.
I'll read the news. I'll scan through, things, emails and such. But at night, I don't like that light. I don't like that. I think it really screws.
You got a
circadian
girlfriend
rhythm.
now. Sounds like you moved to Austin, Texas, to be closer to the source.
Yeah.
Okay.
They make them good in Texas.
They do. So, do you have an interest in having a family someday?
Yeah.
I don't want to make your girlfriend uncomfortable. She probably won't be listening to this. Just speak freely, Scott.
Yeah. No, I the jury's still out. Not right now. Not right now. But I think I do want kids. I just don't. It's not a burning desire of mine right now. Like I said, I have a lot of movies and a lot of stories that I want to tell before I can hang my hat and go, okay, cool. Like I feel accomplished in the movie making and the stories I've told, and now maybe things can slow down, but I still would like to tell more stories, but I can take a back seat to that.
Yeah. How old's your dad right now?
He's 88.
88. So when you're 88 and you're looking back, like what's the one thing that you're going to be most proud of that you'd be like, yeah, that was really important that I did that?
It's a good question. The one thing. I mean, I hope there's more than just one, but if I had to put, I guess, importance on one thing, affect other people in a positive way.
Yeah, nice.
I want people to be like, wow, that guy really inspired me, or he changed my life, or he created this amazing art that really moved me. And then, I would say probably, look, I don't have a family right now, but I would imagine if I have a family that should be first or second. Right,
that becomes the new one thing.
Yeah, that becomes the new thing, right? Like, okay, well, have I inspired my kids? Have I led a powerful example to them? I would hope so, and
right.
Yeah.
So if someone listening is saying, you know what, gosh, that acting just is really, really cool. I really want to do that, but I don't know where to start. I live in Iowa. What should I do? What would be your advice to 16-year-old or 18 or 25-year-old is like, dude, I hate what I'm doing and I really want to become an actor?
Wow. It's a different I would have answered it so differently 10 years ago. Right? Like 10 years ago, I would have said, move to LA or New York, get involved in theater, get involved in acting class, right. Put yourself in rooms where, like you go and do these things, and you go out there and you really try, and you meet people, and you hopefully get noticed by casting directors and people.
Nowadays you can just basically start your own YouTube channel and start acting in front of a camera.
You can.
That
right?
might work, right?
You can make your own movies. Yeah, really simple. Really simply. You can make your own movies on an iPhone. And you could do your own thing. You can write, you can do so many other things. I'd also say that you can I would advise that I think you would enjoy it if you also work on other aspects of your career. So becoming financially secure, I think, is an important thing because if you really enjoy it, but you are just so strapped and living paycheck to paycheck, and you come to LA, it will eat you up and it will grind you out, and it becomes, I don't think it's sustainable. because there's so many intangibles, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would, in parallel, be working on a career that can provide
Mm-hmm.
for you. So something else, whether it's something you create yourself or an alternative income stream. I think that would really help you become, not dependent on somebody else saying, okay, cool, I want him in my movie.
Yeah.
Because that sucks, right?
You're not in control.
You're not in control of your own destiny at that
But
point.
with all, because these days you got Netflix, producing their own shows and
Mhm.
Amazon producing their own shows and who knows who else is getting into that. It seems like there's just so much more. It seems to me as an outsider, there's just so much more opportunity. Like literally thousands of TV shows, all with people acting in them.
Mm-hmm.
Are they making any money? Like if I'm on like a first season show, let's say first year is Shameless.
Mhm.
Am I making any money? Or is it a total crapshoot and most don't make it to season 2 or and I'm not it's not sustainable.
You can. I mean, it just depends on a lot of factors, right? It depends on, are you a principal
Mhm.
person in that show? Are you coming on as a small bit part?
Mhm.
There's a lot of factors to it.
Mm. It's a mind-boggling kind of profession to me when you see all the, like, how many thousands and thousands of people vying
To try to do it.
to get noticed,
It's actually, I feel like it's, I mean, there are a lot of people that are trying to do it. I don't know how many people are putting in, like, where a lot of times people come to LA and they come in and they hit it hard, or they're here for 2 years and they're like, oh, it didn't work out,
Right.
and you're like, well, shit, there's something called the 10,000 hour rule.
Mhm.
And that goes with any business,
Mhm.
with anything worth creating, right? It's like you can't give up that quick.
Right.
That's not, you didn't really want it then.
Right. You're just past the starting line. You're not even anywhere near.
You're just getting your feet into it. You're just
Right.
kind of understanding the landscape of the business at that point.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of people that come in and maybe want it, but then there are some people that they want to do like what you said. They want to die for it.
Mhm.
And there's a difference.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. So we probably should wrap this up, but you have a podcast.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the podcast again?
Live Life Better.
Live Life Better. So what was the inspiration for that, and what's your message? Obviously, live life better. So you want to, through your example and through guests, basically show people
Yeah.
a path to a better life.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I
Amazing how I figured that out by myself.
Yeah, it did. It's in the name.
Schmirk.
You kind of cheated. It's in the name. Tim, I just called you, right? And I was just like, dude, I want to do a podcast. I was like, I want to do something that is gives back. That was like the first thing I said. I was like, I want to do something. I felt really blessed. I feel almost guilty sometimes and I beat up myself because I feel guilty of my successes.
Mm-hmm.
And I want other people to be able to feel and experience what it feels like to be successful and to be healthy and to be clear-headed. And I just am sick of all the negative bullshit that we consume. And I was like, there's not enough people doing just positive stuff.
Well, I love that because you can also just show that, you're just a human being who happens to be in this career, this profession.
Yeah.
And you're making movies, but doesn't make you any different or any more special than someone else doing something cool.
Yep.
Like my SEAL team buddies or whatever. And so you get to be human.
Yep.
Through your podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
I also like, selfishly, I get to meet a lot of cool people and it's cool. I get to sit here and hear about your book, and I get to learn more, and it expands me, which is like the selfish part of it. So I get to learn more about other people because I never want to stop growing. Mm-hmm. That's like we talked about.
Right.
I think it's the death. when you stop growing. Because like school doesn't have to end. Like I graduated college 10 years ago, plus more, 12, whatever it was. And I just don't want to, I want to reinvest in myself all the time. So this is like a school for me. It's like, oh, cool. Like I'm forced to come up with questions, do research on you, figure out, you know,
what's this guy
what this guy's about, learn something new in the process.
Right.
And then hopefully like the benefit is that we get to like spread positivity. We get to give back to other people. We get to give people tools, actual tangible tools. They go, okay, hey, he does that. He does this every day. He takes care of this first. He creates lists. He puts, he does small tasks that lead to bigger tasks. And, just help people along the way. That's cool. That's a cool thing for me.
Right. Yeah. So for listeners who didn't know this, because you wouldn't, I just did a podcast with Scott on his show before this. So we're up in his studio right now in Culver City, and we had a really fun talk, and we literally talked about some really interesting things because I kept going down the rabbit hole. We literally talked about nuclear weapons, mitigating suffering, veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress. But and you did a great job. You're a great interviewer. So your podcast is going to be a huge success. Or already is, I'm sure. So winding down, people can learn about you just by basically Googling you, right?
Yeah.
But do you have like a place that's like you prefer to communicate or interact with people? Is it at the podcast homepage, or where would people really, if they want to like interact with you? And I'm not suggesting you give me your cell phone number to hand out to folks, but like what's the social handle, and where can people find out more about what you're up to?
Yeah, I have an Instagram, and people can check out. I usually let people know what I'm doing on it, whether it's the podcast or life stuff.
The podcast have a URL like livelifebetter.com or something like that, or
Tim?
ScottEastwood.co.
It's ScottEastwood.co. That's
ScottEastwood.co.
Okay. That's my landing page really, just on the internet. Some guy actually was another Scott Eastwood didn't want to sell.
Oh, no kidding, yeah.
Or he wanted like some crazy amount of money, right?
We didn't even get that far.
So we're like, all right, cool, just call it Scott Eastwood CO.
That works.
But no, I'm on Instagram. It's, Scott Eastwood.
Okay.
And we talk about the podcast and we do other promotion stuff on there. Yeah.
And what's the next kind of big movie that is going to be released? I know when you work on a movie, it doesn't release for like a couple of years, right?
The Outpost will come out in late summer, early fall. In between that, I'll be going off to shoot a movie or two.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you give us any kind of spoiler on the Outpost?
Oh, spoiler? Not really. It's a true story. I don't want to give away too much. I mean,
Is it a special ops story?
No,
or kind of local?
No. It's about regular guys doing extraordinary things. Putting a really shitty circumstance.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, I'm really proud of the film. It's great. A lot of great people in it. Caleb Laundrie, Jones, whole amazing group of young guys. Directed by Rod Laurie. Yeah, it'll be cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Yeah.
The Outpost. All right, Scott. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the work you do. Keep doing it, and keep up with the podcast, because people do need to know how to live life better. And there's a lot of bullshit out there and a lot of confusing advice. So
that's true.
It's good to help clarify get to the truth of the matter, so to speak.
Get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. And there you go.
Good stuff.
Be good.
All right, brother.
Thanks for your time. Hoo-yah. All right, folks, that's it for now. Scott Eastwood, and check it out. Check out his movies and his podcast, Live Life Better, scotteastwood.co. Thanks for your time today. Stay focused, do the work, and be creative, and help people be better. I love that message. All right. See you next time out here. Hoo-yah. Hey, this is Mark Devine. Thanks very much for watching the Unbeatable Mind podcast on YouTube. You can also find the podcast at iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, and unbeatablemind.com/podcast. be sure to check out the new episode released every week. Hoo-yah.